Hey y'all, Unbreakable here. It is time for another episode of Ask Unbreakable Anything. Disclaimer. I have not, nor will I ever claim to be an expert, a mental health professional, or a know-it-all. I am simply a very vocal survivor. I share my story, I share my experience, strength, hope, my ups, my downs, my struggles, what I've overcome. I share my own toxic traits. I share me. So this episode, the question was, how long before the new supply figures out they're dealing with a narcissist? That's a hard one. I got together with in July of 2004. My son was born November of 2005. Right off the bat, he wanted to marry me. Red flag. My daughter was born in 1991, and after that, over the course of a few years, I had had 2 miscarriages. I had had several surgeries trying to repair the deterioration of all of my female parts. And after the second miscarriage, my doctors told me I couldn't have any more children. Right from the beginning he would tell me, I'm trying to get you pregnant so you can never leave me. And I told him over and over again, the doctors told me I can't have any more kids. I'm done. My parts just are not working. Trying to get you pregnant so you can never leave me. Red flag. Lo and behold, I get pregnant. Miracle baby. My miracle baby is almost 17 now. First trimester, he gave me a red flag. Throughout that whole first year or two, it was constant love bombing, withdrawal, love bombing, withdrawal. Wants to be with me every minute, disappears for days on end. Red flag. Early on when I was pregnant, that's when the first physical happened. And that was bruises on my wrists, holding on to me so that I could not get away when he was cursing me out, spitting in my face, eyes glazed over, almost black looking, bruises on my wrists. Red flag. Screaming in my face. Red flag. I didn't know early on about and at that time his drug of choice was crystal. They call it the devil's. I don't know about it, but I know about that one now. Apparently that makes you extremely, I don't know that there's any other word that I can be C with, but I didn't know then. I know now. Apparently at some shops, there's what they call arcade rooms. And these are these small rooms that you go into, and there is videos that play. And some of these rooms have holes in the walls to the next room over. You let your mind wander. Found out about that. Red flag. At that time, I still didn't know about that. I knew that he would be up days on end and then crash for days on end. Red flag. Early on, we lived together on and off. And one of the times that we were living together, I found bottle after bottle after bottle after bottle, empty bottles hidden all over the garage. We're talking in tool cabinets, in his shoes, in boxes of paper, in piles of trash, in his motors, just everywhere. We're talking 40, 50 empty bottles. Red flag. And I thought I was being a good girlfriend and helping clean the garage because the garage was always a pigsty, because that's where he would always go retreat to. Red flag. He would go to retreat to the garage, and I walked in on it. Red flag. He would lock himself in the bathroom for hours on end with his so severely, I've said it before, so severely that he had friction scabs on his private parts. Red flag. Very early on, he told me that he was going through a divorce. Okay, all right. It wasn't until many months later that I had found out that they hadn't even filed yet. Red flag. When I was pregnant, there was a time where he said that he's not going to pay me an effing dime until an effing judge tells him he effing has to. Red flag. There were females who were calling all the time. Red flag. He asked me over and over and over again over the years to marry him. And I didn't say yes until 2009. And from 2004 till 2009, it was constant love bombing, withdrawal, love bombing, withdrawal, love bombing, withdrawal. And of course, I was told the entire time it was all my fault. Red flag. I would get left all the time. Pregnant. Severely threatened miscarriage. Very traumatic pregnancy. In and out of the hospital constantly. My son and I both barely made it. But he would leave all the time and disappear. Wouldn't answer his phone, didn't know where he was. And then, of course, when he would come back, it was all my fault. Red flag. When I did find out about when he was on it, he was a devil. But I started recognizing the signs. I knew how to read when he was high. I still stayed. Red flag. The fights were horrific. Screaming, yelling, cursing. Cursing was his favorite thing to scare me. And then his favorite punishment was the silent treatment. Of course, I never knew what I did wrong. In retrospect, nothing. I did nothing wrong. I couldn't do anything right. I was a horrible girlfriend and then wife. I was a horrible mother. I was a horrible person. None of my family wanted to do anything with me. I had no friends. Of course, I wasn't allowed to spend time with any of my friends. All red flags. No one likes you. You brushed your hair wrong. You cook wrong. You clean wrong. You pay the bills wrong. You take care of the house wrong. All red flags. Started. And I would say no repeatedly, over and over and over again. Red flag. When the resulted in emergency surgery, I came home from the surgeon. What did you tell them? What did you tell them? Red flag. I knew better than to open my mouth and say anything that went on in that household. The used to do the, what are you going to do? Call the cops? Then you're going to ruin my career. That's the only reason you're here. You want my money and you want to ruin my career. Red flag. They knew how I felt about them. I didn't like them. I was scared of them. So we bought one, and then two, and then three, and then four, and then five, and I think there was somewhere around seven by the time we split up. And they used to take them out and cock them at me. Because he knew I was terrified. And it was one of his ways at keeping me silent, afraid, meek. Red flag. He used to take them and lay them down so they were pointing right at me. And then look at me with that look like, what the F are you going to do? Red flag. There were so many. So many. At one point after my son was born, we had split up again. I can't even tell you how many times we split up and got back together. But he wouldn't give me a dime for diapers and milk. Not a dime. And yet, come to find out, all he was doing at his little apartment, he was getting high. And so his money was going. But he left me with no diapers, no milk, no money, no nothing. I had nothing for my child. I had to beg and borrow to take care of my child. Huge red flags. At one point, his job found out that he was using, and so they fired him. Red flag. Just before that, he had gotten something in his eye on the job site. And so he had to go to the eye doctor. And so he was off work for several days. And lo and behold, that's when his job said, we need you to go take a test. And he passed. His job figured out that somehow he passed the test, but they fired him anyways. Red flags. There were so many red flags. 15 years worth. 15 years. That he loved me. But he was my person. But this is who I'm going to spend my life with. But he says that he loves me. Sometimes he shows me that he loves me when I'm not in trouble, when I'm not on punishment. Punishment was the silent treatment. I don't know what I did, but I'm on punishment for something again. I'm such a horrible person. I'm such a bad mom. I'm such a bad friend. I'm such a bad daughter. I'm such a bad girlfriend. I'm such a bad wife. I'm just this horrible, horrible person. I don't deserve for him to talk to me right now. I deserve whatever punishment I get. Because he says I'm horrible. I'm evil. And I believed all of it. I was so enmeshed in the toxicity of that relationship. I had no clue. No clue that what was going on was. See, they meticulously groom us. Just a little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, until we get to a point where it's so overwhelming and we are so mentally screwed up that we're sucked in, hook, line, and sinker. We know that we're wrong. We know that we're the bad person, the bad girlfriend, wife, spouse, whatever. We know that we can't do anything right. And we know that everything is our fault. And so anything that we get dished out, we deserve that. We isolate from friends and family. We avoid going out. We avoid being out of their sight. We make sure that we always respond to phone calls and texts immediately. We've been groomed. we've been groomed to just take it. Because this is as good as it gets, right? This is my person. This is all I deserve. I don't deserve better than this because I'm a horrible person. So I should be grateful for what I have. I should just be happy and content that at least someone loves me. At least someone wants to be with me most of the time. The other day, I did the Ask Unbreakable Anything. Did you always feel at fault even when you knew you weren't? I knew I was at fault over everything. It was my fault he used. It was my fault he drank. It was my fault he cheated. It was my fault that I would get cursed out and have drawn on me. It was my fault that I would get left all the time. It was my fault that I was getting the silent treatment. Everything was my fault. I believed it because he said so, because he showed me it was. I took care of the entire household financially. Everything that we ever had was because of me. I would go down to pennies in my account because I paid all the bills. And I would have to beg, plead, and cry for him to transfer some sort of money so that I wasn't broke every payday while he walked around with thousands of dollars. And he would throw crumbs at me. Here you go. Here's a couple of bucks. That was my fault too, because I didn't know how to manage money, because I didn't pay the bills right. Mind you, I paid all the bills. All of the bills. He had everything he wanted. Everything he wanted. Every toy you could imagine. Every vehicle you could imagine. When we split up, we had 5 vehicles. 5. I took 1. He took 4, which I didn't care. But he had to have everything. And yet I wasn't allowed anything. To the extent that when I went to go get my new car years ago, the one car that I wanted, and I knew exactly what I wanted, and we literally had a fight in the middle of the dealership. And I was in tears in the middle of the dealership because I knew what I wanted, and I just wanted one thing. That's all I wanted. I just want one thing, and I was never allowed to have anything. And so I stood my ground, but I sobbed, and I almost gave in and got the car that he wanted. But I stood my ground and got what I wanted. Red flag. Like, why am I not allowed, with all of my hard work and my money that I make, why am I not allowed to have something? You have everything. Everything that you want. Red flag. Everything about that entire relationship was one humongous red flag. Many I missed. Many I overlooked. Many I knew that something wasn't right. But again, this is as good as it gets. This is all I deserve because I'm not a decent human being. I'm not a good person. Nobody likes me. Nobody loves me. Like, he's the only one who will ever love me. He's the only one who will ever be there for me. I was brainwashed, as we often are. So to answer the question, how long before the new supply figures out what they're dealing with? I was in it for 15 years. 15 years. I knew things were wrong. I knew things were bad, but I didn't know I didn't recognize that everything that I was going through was verbal, emotional, psychological, physical, financial, you name it. I didn't know. I didn't understand it. I was so brainwashed. You see all these documentaries on cult leaders and Waco, how everybody just kills themselves, right? Because that's what the leader said to do. That was almost me. December of 2018, I had a plan to commit because I was such a bad person. I didn't deserve to exist on this earth. Like, nobody liked me. Nobody wanted me around. I was a horrible daughter. I was a horrible mother. I was a horrible person. I didn't deserve to walk this earth. I was that brainwashed. "15 years. I didn't recognize that what I was enduring was, I didn't know. So how long before the new supply figures it out? There's no answer to that. There's no definitive cut and dry, it's this much time before they recognize. See, the married the mistress. January 1st, 2019, the cheated again. January 5th, 2019, he announced he wanted a divorce. I have seen the familiar behaviors, not even by trying, not even by questioning. I'll call my son and it'll be loud and, oh, that's dad, he's in the garage. That's his favorite place to hide away. My son will be upstairs in his room over there with the door closed, and I can hear screaming and cursing downstairs. My son calls me early in the morning upset. I just got woken up by her cursing out dad on the phone. He leaves her constantly to care for my child, which he used to do to me, caring for his other daughters. None of these are new behaviors. None. Not one. He leaves constantly. He leaves her there constantly, just like he used to do me. He lies, gets caught in them. I know all of these things that I don't necessarily want to know. How long before she figures it out? There's no telling. There's no timeline. There's no answer to that. But here's my question in response to that. Why does it matter? Mind you, I am not putting anyone down by any means for thinking this or questioning this, because I went through the same exact thing. How long before she figures it out? Because damn it, I wanted my justice. I wanted him to feel it. I wanted him to fail. I wanted him to be destroyed. I wanted him to feel pain. I wanted him to feel the pain that I had. He never will. They never will, because they're never at fault. And if somebody figures it out, they'll just find a new supply. I never called the police. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I wish I had. but I didn't. I was brainwashed to know that everything was my fault. And if I called the police, I'm trying to destroy him, defeat him. And that just further solidifies the fact that I am such a bad person. I never called the police. I will never get my justice. Some days I can accept that. Other days I can't. But what I will tell you is that karma, the universe, God, whatever you call it, will catch up with them. And 99% of the time, it will have nothing to do with you. Karma is catching up and has caught up with the in my world. And none of it has anything to do with me. None. I didn't total his car. I didn't total his motorcycle. I didn't break his leg. They're not my bills that are calling to collect. I don't owe the IRS from when we were married. There's so many things that I have seen karma dish out to him. Not even by choice, not even by trying. Karma is catching up with him. And I have nothing to do with it. And that's the best part. It has nothing to do with me. I didn't do anything to promote it. I didn't do anything to bring it on. This is all his choices that are catching up with him. Is she leaving him yet? Not that I'm aware of. Do they fight all the freaking time? Yes. Yeah, they do. I've heard it consistently. I've had to accept that I will never get my justice. But he will get his karma. And when it comes to the new supply, this is strictly a choice that you make for yourself, one way or the other. I tried to warn her one time. One time. That's it. I don't know when she'll figure it out. It depends on her self-esteem. It depends on how she feels about herself. It depends on whether she thinks this is as good as it gets and this is the love of her life and this is the one. And it depends on how messed up she is in the relationship and what she's fallen for and what she's believed over her eyes. There's no answer for that. But the best response that I can give you is you've got to turn the focus on yourself, your healing, your truth, your story. You have got to focus on yourself. The more you focus on when will the get their karma, when will the be found out, when will the be taken down, every time you spend energy and brain power on thinking through those questions and obsessing over those questions, you are giving them the power. You are handing it right over. And I promise I am not condemning you by any means, because I have been there and sometimes continue to be there. I want my justice. Damn it, I want my justice for everything that I went through. But I will probably never see it. And that's a hard thing to swallow. I know. But the more I focus on my healing, the more I focus on myself, the more I focus on building my self-esteem, loving myself, dating myself, enjoying my own company, educating myself, calling out red flags, running for the hills when I see them, not excusing unacceptable behaviors. The more that I practice that, the more that I practice healthy choices, healthy relationships, healthy interactions, healthy words, the more that I do, the less I worry about when will the be found out. I don't choose to live in his hell anymore. That's for him. He can stay there. Don't care. Don't call. Don't text. Don't want to talk to you. You dug your grave. It's no longer my business. The more I think about it, the more I obsess over it, the more I go over and over in my head, when, the more I delay my healing, the more I delay my joy, my peace, my serenity. And I'll be damned if anybody affects any of that. So if you find yourself questioning that constantly, like you can't get it out of your head, and trust me again, I've been there. Try your best to turn the focus right back on you. What do you need? What do you need to work through? What do you need to address? Turn the focus on yourself. And I know how hard that is. Because we all have our own toxic traits. We all have our own maladaptive coping skills. We all have our own flaws. But part of healing is owning it, healing it, correcting it, fixing it. The more you're honest with yourself, the easier your healing becomes. I don't know when they'll get figured out. I don't know when karma will catch up with them. But I know that I am living my best life. Happy, peaceful, honestly, authentically, with all of my flaws and all. Take care of yourself. You're not alone. You are not crazy. Oh my goodness gracious, you are not crazy. You are not crazy. And you are not broken because you fell for it. They are experts. I've said this before. They are experts at what they do. They are the best used car salesman you will ever face on this earth. They are masters at their craft. But we defeat them and defeat any others who try to come by loving ourselves first. By recognizing our strengths, our talents, our likes, our dislikes, knowing we have value, knowing we deserve nothing but the best. That's how we win. We win by living a good life, an authentic life, an honest life. That's how we win. If you're struggling, I recommend you reach out to a mental health professional, a close family member or friend, a support group. Opening your mouth is the best start to your healing that there is. Sharing your story. Your story could be someone else's survival guide. Your story could save a life. The more you open your mouth, the less it hurts. The less it hurts, the less triggers you have. If you didn't catch my story the other day on one of the Ask Unbreakable Anything episodes, go check it out. I didn't cry once. I'm going on almost 4 years out. Very little that I talk about causes me to cry anymore. because I'm healing. I'm getting better. You can too. What's your next question for Ask Unbreakable Anything? Y'all go be unbreakable.